and slow and take a seat.
That's kind of tricky, isn't it?
Yeah, that is a tricky one.
So just think of the simplest. Actually, if you want to put that in your pocket or just clip it on the outside of your pocket, actually stand up and we'll kind of be like, this is more important than this, so let's get rid of this, and this is more important.
My name is Jonathan, and I'm a stroke survivor. I'm 38 years old, and this journey that I have is quite an extensive journey that I've been through. I've taken quite a long time to get to where I'm at right now, and it's been a journey with a lot of complications and a lot of challenges throughout the past 3 years and 9 months now. About myself, I've gone to school for quite a long time, from college all the way to university, studying chemistry, biology, and also food sciences. I've learned so much and worked in many different companies and many great opportunities by testing different products, both medicine and also food products. And I love to play sports such as soccer, basketball, hockey, and I've got a big family. I have an older sister, my dad, my mom, and my nephews, 3 of them. And I think that having family, it's a great thing to have, as well as a lot of friends from church, friends from college, university, and also friends from the community. On December 2020 was the moment that everything started. I was getting a lot of headaches, tension. I was in a very stressful job, and at the same time I was in a relationship that wasn't the greatest after 2 years living together, and life changed quite a lot for me as COVID was introduced, and a lot of isolation and also a lot of restrictions going on during that period of time. Closer to starting off the new year on 2021, on January 1st, was the moment that everything started. Everything started to change for me. It was the moment that my headache was just getting much more intense, and it led to my speech starting to be affected, and as well a lot of words that started to slur, and also my vision started to get a little bit blurry. It was quite something unexpected, and it was something that was quite scary for the first time, experiencing something, especially as a healthy person. It was unexpected, and I felt like not knowing what it was. I got called, my ex-girlfriend called the ambulance the moment that she noticed that there was something wrong with me. And in that moment, she saw that I wasn't speaking properly. I was getting very tired, very weak, and very intensive headaches. And in that moment, she decided to call the ambulance to take me to emergency straight to the hospital. I ended up in the hospital within 10-15 minutes. It happened really fast. And it was COVID, January 1st, 2021. People all over the place. It was chaotic in the hospital. A lot of people did not know what was happening with me. They thought it was probably COVID, but clearly not. It wasn't. It was something much worse than that. The doctors ended up taking the nurses started taking blood work, checking my blood pressure, and I started to get CT scans. And from that moment was how they identified that I had a rupture on the left side of my brain, which was an aneurysm, and not just any type of an aneurysm, but it could have killed me that moment, as not enough oxygen and blood was flowing all over my head. And it was a miracle. It was a miracle to be alive, just for the fact that it wasn't something that I could have survived, and neither could have many other stroke survivors that were affected by the aneurysm. But thank God, I'm still here, and I'm still continuing moving forward and working really hard for myself of recovery and healing. And that moment, 2-3 days later, I got transferred to another hospital, which was at St. Michael's in Toronto, where a team of neurologists and also other specialists wanted to take my case, since they found it very astounding, the fact that I survived an aneurysm, and also I lost a lot of my speech, my memory, and also mobility. So it was something very different for me for the first time. And I ended up in the hospital for 6 days, and I had an angiogram, and as well more MRI, CT scans, since the doctors wanted to identify what exactly happened to me, and how is it that a young guy that is very healthy could be affected with a stroke. So through the angiogram, they were able to determine that on the left side, they found and identified an AVM, which is an anterior venous malformation. And what that is usually caused either from childbirth that could develop over time, and something that could be triggered either through stress, or it could be triggered by any other factors. But I think over time, now that's been almost 3 years and 9 months, I can look back to it and think that it had to do a lot with stress. It had a lot to do with being in the wrong relationship. I also had to do with other factors that affected me, with new changes in my life, when it comes to work, when it comes to also living my life in a different direction that wasn't the best way, that I was taking steps towards figuring myself out. And I think that all those different things that we go through in life, sometimes we don't really understand why things like that happen to us. But there's always a bigger purpose besides the fact that having a setback or having a challenge that we go through is not just something that happens at an older age. It can happen at any age, whether it's being young, whether it's being a teenager, a young adult, or a senior. Any stages in life we can go through, and those stages that we go through in life teaches us and gives us many lessons. And those lessons were what I had to reflect on to try to understand why certain things wasn't working for me. But thankfully, I had that second opportunity through God's mercy, through His love, to still be here. As for, I thought I wouldn't live. I actually thought that that would have been my last time living. And I actually thought that it wouldn't be possible to also recover through the moment of losing my speech and also my memory and also my right side from arm to leg mobility. So it was very hard for me throughout that whole process that I had to go through. On the 7th day, I ended up being able to go home. And I did not go back to where I was living. I ended up going back to my parents' home in the countryside, where they ended up being my caregivers. And ever since, and also during COVID, I ended up receiving a team of 5 to 7 different specialists that were attending and helping me out during COVID at home and as well through Zoom. And that went on for a good 5 months, and 5 to almost 7 months to be honest. And that was a process where it was to improve my speech, my memory, my reading, my writing, and also my mobility, as well many other things that I had to receive help on when it came to dressing up, when it came to doing certain tasks at home and also outside. It was very helpful to have a team of specialists as a speech pathologist, a social worker, occupational therapist, and a physiotherapist. All of those different specialists were a big help over that period of time of my first year of stroke. During that time being in the hospital, it was something scary for the moment, especially since it was during COVID, and I didn't really understand exactly what was happening to me, and especially to my brain. So I wasn't able to actually process all my thoughts the moment I was being rushed to the hospital, and the moment that I was in the hospital bed and then being transferred to another hospital. All those different transitions that was going on very quickly, it was very hard for me to kind of understand what is happening to me. And not only what is happening to me, but I wasn't able to express myself. The words weren't coming out of my mouth. So instead of being able to express myself through words, instead my expression was through my eyes. So the nurses, the doctors, they would see a lot of pain in me just by simply looking at my eyes, and also the reaction that I had in my face, that I wasn't able to express myself. So that was the hardest part, and it was something that it's really hard to kind of even think about exactly how everything happened, because I did forget. There were many moments that I was going through that it did affect my memory and my short-term memory, where I've had a lot of moments that I've forgotten a lot of things, and it's made it very difficult for me to kind of go back to certain moments. Yeah, I did not question God for the fact that I knew that whatever was happening to me, everything was happening with a bigger reasoning and purpose, for the fact that I knew that my lifestyle at the moment wasn't as perfect and wasn't the right path I was taking. So before having the stroke and during the moment that I did have the stroke, in my mind, I thought, why was I doing a lot of things that just wasn't really making me feel happy? And the moment that I started to reflect why I'm not happy is the moment that it went back to the fact that there was a reason and purpose that I had to go through a stroke to kind of reflect, change my mindset, and also change my lifestyle. So that's exactly what my mind was processing and also reflecting. I started to gradually strengthen my body as I was doing physio, and at the same time I was doing exercises at home on my own. And at the same time I started to go to the library to get a lot of books. Getting a lot of books helped me quite a lot to get my speech in return and also my memory. So I ended up reading many different books of many different topics that would help me by strengthening my mind and also my knowledge in different areas. At the same time, I would also write so I can improve my writing, and also so that way I can help myself to know how to express myself, which I had still a lot of challenges and a lot of difficulties, especially when it came to like cognitive. It affected me. So I did end up receiving some support by this organization, and where they help out people with stroke where it comes to cognitive helping, and it's related with following like different patterns, letters, numbers, symbols. All of that helps out the cognitive in the brain just to make it develop. Yeah. During that process for my first and second year, the types of emotions that I felt was a lot of frustration. So I felt very frustrated that I couldn't speak well. I couldn't understand certain things whenever it was having interaction, mostly until the second year, interaction with family members, like very little, especially during COVID. And also interactions with friends did not exist. I ended up losing a lot during my first year and second year. I ended up losing my job where it was put on hold. And secondly, I ended up losing being in a relationship that ended up being toxic and not the best. And thirdly, I ended up losing being able to drive, so I had to sell my car. And on top of that, prior to my stroke, I also had issues with the vehicle, and it was a brand new vehicle that ended up having problems with the engine, which ended up having a defect and it broke down. So a lot of things that happened to me that affected me prior to my stroke and also during my first and second year. So quite a lot happened to me during those critical first 2 years. I struggled a lot. And not only did I struggle a lot, but I lost a lot. It was the moment where I started to gradually improve. It was the moment where I started to feel a lot more independent. The moment where I started to improve in my speech, improve in my understanding, and also being able to walk and being able to exercise, and at the same time eating very healthy, and as well starting to slowly build friendships within the community, and at the same time with other family members. That helped quite a lot, as it made me feel a lot more happier, a lot more confident, and at the same time it gave me much more purpose, because that purpose that I started to develop was the fact that I started to feel really good about myself, because it was quite a challenge that I went through those 3 years where I started to build a lot of determination, a lot of perseverance to reach to where I'm at now. I ended up starting to ride my bike. I started to drive again, and I started to go to church, and I started to connect with people once again. So that made me feel a lot happier. But I still had my challenges, and I still have my doubt, my difficulties when it comes to cognitive or even sensitivity, as I still have sensitivity with the light or loud noise, or even headaches and a lot of tension, since throughout a stroke I've had a lot of migraines, a lot of headaches, and also moments where I feel like taking naps or feeling tired. And that's part of stroke. And those are things that sometimes people are not aware of, what stroke means. But stroke affects people in many different ways, and it doesn't really matter what age, whether you're 20 or whether you're 80 years old. Stroke affects in different ways, whether it's mentally, whether it's physically, and whether it's emotionally. And I think all those different areas, it affected me. But thank God I was able to overcome those challenges, and I was able to do things that what I'm currently doing is much more greater than ever thought I would be able to. And I'm starting to do things and see things in a different perspective, because I've changed my mindset, and also by the way I speak, the way I think, and the way I take actions towards everything that I look forward to do, and everything that I look to conquer and to accomplish in my life, and as well for others that I desire to help. And that's something that I'm currently doing, helping the community, helping many people with stroke in both English and Spanish. And at the same time, I'm also helping different organizations when it comes to stroke, disability, and also mental health. So those are different organizations that I'm very grateful to be part of. And at the same time, I'm very thankful that I'm alive. I'm very thankful for the prayers of my family, both my dad, my mom, my sister, and worldwide. Many people from different churches. And at the same time, I find it that every single time that we connect with other people that may not know you, it makes a huge difference the moment that you simply listen to them, and you also take the opportunity to help them out in the areas that they need, simply by listening. And also taking that time, taking your time to help someone else makes a huge difference. Whether it's stroke, whether it's disability, or whether it's mental health, all those different areas is something that it's needed worldwide. And it's something that I have now in my heart and in my mind to help many people in those areas, because I find it that it's something that is growing in a quick way worldwide. And I think that the moment that someone, and not just one person, but the moment that each person takes time to take the step in doing this, by taking small steps, it makes a huge difference. And that's exactly what I'm looking for to do to many people worldwide. I can see myself not living the best lifestyle, where I was living a life where it was not exactly the way I thought it would be, just because I was following a path in my life where I was doing things that wasn't good for me when it comes to either socially hanging out with friends that aren't the best influence, and at the same time being in a relationship that wasn't the right relationship that was meant for me. And at the same time, always looking over myself, everything from being a child all the way from a teenager to a young adult. I've always had everything, and I've always also worked very hard for what I have too. And because I only cared about myself, that's the reason I think that there was a purpose and a reasoning to have that stroke, to kind of reflect and to think back that there's something greater than me that gives me that strength, that gives me that wisdom, that gives me that grace, and that gives me that ability to do many things. And that was something that I started to reflect on after having stroke. And the moment going through my first year, second and third year, I had to be thankful and grateful, and at the same time start to develop that humbleness, where I started to look at everything in a different perspective. And I started to be very thankful, because I ended up missing out in viewing things that I wasn't really appreciating during that time. I had to start to learn to appreciate after my first, second, third year. And it's something very hard to accept, but at the same time, acceptance and also a change of mindset and a change of lifestyle, that's what makes the difference. That's what makes a transformation in our lives. That's what makes us repent from our old lifestyle into the new lifestyle, where I started to look more for God. I started to get more hungry for God by reading His Word, by going to church, by connecting with the right people that have fellowship. And building that fellowship is what made me build myself to who I am nowadays. And changing the way I think, the way I speak, the way I act. Everything has changed over this 3 years and 9 months. It's been a huge, it has been a huge process and journey, but that journey has led me to where I'm at now. And I'm very thankful, and I'm very happy that it's only through God's mercy that I'm here, and the desire that I have to change, which makes a huge difference.
you.